Hey everyone, LomarTheX here, and I've decided that I do my collection for the Super Nintendo. Now regarding the console, it was the first that I experienced gaming on as a kid growing up, Super Mario World being the first game that I ever played, as well as the abomination that was Mario's early years. Thankfully, I had sold it a long time ago. So, without anything else to mention, we can now begin. Starting off with the Donkey Kong Country series, 1, 2, and 3. What made these so noteworthy were their 3D enhanced graphics, or as I prefer to call them, their 2.5D graphics, and just in general great platformers with a lot of collectibles, and a couple references. If memory serves me correctly, there was possibly a reference to Mario and Sonic in one of these games. Next up is the Super Mario World series 1 and 2 Yoshi's Island. The first one was a nice platformer and I believe one of the console's launch titles. And as I mentioned prior at the beginning, it was one of my first experiences with video gaming. Somehow by chance I actually happened to own 2 copies, one of them being from a friend, but sadly by the time we had discovered the cartridge, they had already moved away. Now, Super Mario World 2 had some great graphics and an interesting plot, but Baby Mario on the other hand was quite annoying and bothersome, how you would have to rescue him and all. Star Fox. Nice 3D textures and environments for a 1993 game, quite realistic if I do say so myself, and the voice acting had some clear reception even. Super Mario RPG, which is a nice take on the franchise and another 2.5D game, thankfully made by Squaresoft back when they hadn't merged. I enjoyed the side quests and references, which there was quite a lot. Some of them were Metroid and Final Fantasy, if I remember correctly. Too bad we don't see more of Geno and Mallow though. F-Zero. Nice futuristic racer for its time, and the difficulty made for a pretty good challenge. Space Invaders, one of the many and countless revamps, remakes, and or ports on the Super Nintendo console. And basically it's a remake of the original arcade release. Kirby Dream Land 3, one of the last titles for the Super Nintendo, and there was a couple references, I believe to Ranma 1/2, Metroid, and ROB. I like the companions that Kirby or Gooey could partner up with to improve their spells or magic, or whatever you call these standard attacks or magical attacks or anything of the sort. And the final battle was disturbing, or at least for me when I was a kid. B.O.B. I've not heard all too much regarding this game, so it leads to my assumption that this must be a rare game, but it's definitely recommended, and it was a good platforming shooter. Super Mario All-Stars. Nicely executed revamps of all 3 Super Mario Bros. Games on the NES, along with the Japan-exclusive Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Lost Levels, which really is just a direct sequel to the original Super Mario Bros. Not really with much of a change though. Next up is Lion King, a game adaptation of the Disney movie, which I haven't played too much, but from what I did play, it was a good platformer. Tetris and Dr. Mario. It's a compilation and yet another remake of 2 classic games from the NES, and quite good. Street Fighter 2, which was my 3rd experience with the franchise, Alpha 3 being the first on the PS1. Overall a nice fighter, and it contains my favorite SNES soundtrack. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Great addition into the franchise. Got lost a lot of the time, so I would have to resort to the map most often. Mario Paint. What made this so notorious was its mouse controller, that automatically came included packaged. But this was an innovative game, with different features letting you paint, play minigames, and compose music. Pac-Man 2. Well, it wasn't all that impressive. Rather than it being anything similar to the original on the arcade, it was more of a simulator, so you would have to control Pac-Man and give him directions as to what he was supposed to do. Frantic Flea, another game I don't remember playing all too much. Killer Instinct, definitely a great fighter with nice graphics for its time, and one of the more mature games on the SNES. Zoop, haven't played it since a while ago, and for 2 nights only. Kirby's Avalanche. Now, after looking at gameplay of Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, this felt as though it was a spin-off of some sort, but a nice puzzle game, and strangely bizarre voice acting. Kirby Superstar. I don't exactly recall this as a revamp, excluding one of the games on here, based off the game from the original NES. There was quite a lot of replay value and unlockables. However, Power Rangers Battle Racers I would not recommend. I had somewhat of a frustrating time with the controls and it's mediocre. Pretty much the only reason as to why I even bothered getting this game is because I continually rented it in my childhood years. Pitfall: The Mayan Adventures. Haven't played it since the mid-90s or so. Super Mario Kart. Nice looking graphics and racer overall. Enjoyed the versus modes. Sequest DSV. Can't really say anything since I last played it in my childhood years. Finally, Aero the Acrobat. The only game I have not been motivated enough to play, and recently bought at least 3 years ago. However, I have heard from critics that pretty much it is another one of those Mario and Sonic clones. So that is all for my Super Nintendo collection. If you are interested in me doing a review of some sort or let's play of one of the games as seen here, then send a private message or leave a comment below this video. OldoMarthX, out.